Welcome to the Motherhood Alliance podcast, the podcast dedicated to empowering moms and families on their health and wellness journey. I'm Brittany Suttner.
And I'm Drea Brit. Together, we're here to explore holistic approaches that go beyond conventional medicine.
Each week, we dive into topics that matter most to you. Everything from nutrition and mental health to alternative therapies and natural living.
And whether you're a new mom navigating the early stages of parenthood or a seasoned pro looking for new ways to support your family's well-being, you're in the right place.
Even better, all of our guests are local small business owners who you can actually talk to and work with. You can learn more about today's guest and connect with hundreds of other health and wellness professionals through our informative and easy-to-use directory at motherhoodalliance.com.
Before we get started, keep in mind that this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not a substitute for personal healthcare advice. Please consult your healthcare provider before making any changes based on the podcast content.
Thank you for joining us on this journey. Are you ready to help your family thrive? Let's get started. Hi, we are Britt and Drea from motherhoodalliance.com, and we are excited to welcome some guests that many of you have asked for more information about, ourselves. In many past episodes, we've referred to our history as prenatal and postpartum personal trainers through our business, Fit Moms on the Move, and how a career in that field ultimately led us to starting the Motherhood Alliance. In these 4 episodes, we dive into numerous topics related to navigating fitness before and after pregnancy, navigating the pressures of society, ab and pelvic floor function, how to have a fast postpartum recovery, what to do if you are years postpartum and your abs feel weak, and more. So without further ado, welcome to today's conversation with us, Drea and Britt.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Motherhood Alliance podcast. We are interviewing ourselves with Fit Moms on the Move.
Welcome back. Thank you.
Yeah, wow, look at us. So we are excited about helping you guys understand what fitness is all about when it comes to pregnancy and postpartum. It can be a really touchy area. A lot of people get nervous when it comes to fitness when pregnancy and postpartum. And so we're here to kind of just help you along with that. So in our first episode, we kind of gave you some real talk, just some really good nuggets on balancing motherhood and fitness. Just talking about how just keeping it simple, right? There's a lot of things to that. So we hope that you take a listen to that. In this episode, we're going to be talking about how to set realistic fitness goals in every season of motherhood. So I'm going to ask the question to you, Brittany. So what are some common unrealistic expectations moms placed on themselves, and how can they shift that mindset?
Yeah, this is a big one. I mean, it gets deep. It gets deep for women because I think that we just hold so much on our shoulders that we want to be able to bounce back. We want to be able to feel the way we did pre-pregnancy so that now we can take care of our kids, but it is a journey. And so they have these unrealistic, honestly, expectations that they're going to have the same amount of time for their fitness routine as they did pre-pregnancy, that they'll be as motivated to work out. Motivation is a very tricky word.
It's up and down. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we also just have to be honest with there are so many different seasons of motherhood that we have to be ready and willing to shift as they come and go.
Yeah, super important.
And then even that they'll like what they did before pregnancy. You might change your interests. I mean, for us, ourselves, we did triathlons before we had kids. Do I still find them interesting? Yes. Am I ready to go outside and ride my bike for 2 hours right now? No, I'm not. And my kids are school age. And it's just my interests have changed.
Yeah. I would say this is a big one for me. This is definitely me when I had my first kiddo. Is I thought that I was just going to roll back into my fitness routine like no problem and just keep doing my boot camps and stuff. And it just wasn't reality for me. So that's definitely one of those unrealistic expectations for many moms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And speaking of the whole bounce back thing, which is
yes,
a term that we really hate, but it's what everyone says.
It's that terminology. Yeah.
Yeah. But society puts a lot of pressure on us as women to bounce back. I mean, during pregnancy, we have this baby bump and everybody talks about how cute we are and how great we look. And then baby is born and all of a sudden it's silence because you just feel like people are judging you for your belly pooch and you can't lose it fast enough and you just want to look different as fast as possible.
Well, and you're judging yourself too, right?
Yeah. So how can moms avoid the pressure to bounce back after pregnancy?
Yeah. And like Brittany is alluding to, that bounce back narrative is everywhere. We hear it all the time. Moms, bounce back this way, do this exercise, do that. It's harmful. It is. It's mentally tough for moms to listen to that. Something that we always say is your body didn't go anywhere. Like it didn't, there's no reason for it to bounce back or forward or, anything like that. We want you to know that, it grew life. This is not something that you can just undo. It's something to honor. So the best way to avoid that pressure is to shift the focus from appearance to strength, energy, and confidence. So surround yourself with messages and people who remind you of that. And that's something that we definitely recommend doing. Is sometimes I'll put Post-it notes on my mirror to remind myself of, my goals or what I really want to look at for myself. If you need to mute or unfollow certain accounts on social media, do it. I mean, honestly, sometimes those things are helpful in some seasons of life, and sometimes they're not. Sometimes you just find yourself getting down on things like, why that girl just had a baby and she's like, she looks amazing.
Social media.
Gosh. Yeah. If it's not helpful for you, just silence it. You don't have to follow these people.
And that's something that we've been really passionate about, is that women just play this comparison game in their heads so much, and we can't help it. We can't help it. Society has really ingrained us to do that. And so for Drea and I, we have been teaching group fitness classes for 10 years now, and we have never wanted to stoop to the level of wearing flaunty clothes.
Yeah.
And so in all of our workouts, we always wear tank tops. We're covering our midsections just because it's not that we're ashamed of them. It's more of, we don't want you, and we're not perfect, trust us.
No, we're not.
But it's like, we don't want you looking at us and making any sort of comparison to yourself. Mm-hmm. And so we're here to move our bodies, to be healthy, but this isn't a flaunting and like an aesthetic game. This isn't an aesthetic game to us.
Right.
So we really encourage women to set progress goals instead of aesthetic goals. So instead of, I want to lose 10 pounds, it's, I want to do 10 push-ups and work toward it, because that work will give you progress in the aesthetic arena, but it's giving your brain a different thing to focus on. That's in a much more healthy way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in this episode, we did want to kind of walk through different seasons of life and kind of different things to focus on within those. So let's start during pregnancy. What are some things to focus on during pregnancy to, at this season of life in pregnancy, you're actually like training for birth.
Yeah.
So if you're someone who likes competition and likes athletics and things like that.
Having a goal.
Yeah, having a goal. You have something to train for. So what should kind of the focus be for during pregnancy?
Yeah. So I would say with pregnancy, it's really just about moving your body, right? And we've talked about this in the first episode as well. It's low intensity, lots of walking. Again, that is so good for your pelvic floor, for your core, for your cardiovascular, for everything else. You can strength train during pregnancy, and we highly recommend it.
You should strength train during pregnancy.
We highly recommend that. We definitely have, special focuses, especially on chest expansion and back strength, working your glutes, your deep core, and going in all planes of motion. I mean, honestly, that's the kind of stuff that we recommend anyway.
Well, and there's intention behind what you just said. So
yes.
After baby is born, we tend to hunch forward, whether you're breastfeeding or bottle feeding, you're changing diapers, you're just tired. So you're hunching forward. So there is intention behind what we're saying here of during pregnancy, intentionally work on strengthening those back muscles and opening up that chest so that you have that mobility and that strength heading into the postpartum period, as well as your glutes, because during pregnancy, and we'll get deeper into this in a future episode, but during pregnancy, a lot of times our hips start to push forward and our glutes start to squeeze in. And so we need strong glutes to counteract the weight of the belly growing in the front. And so you also mentioned deep core. So a lot of times your deep core muscles will actually turn off during pregnancy.
Right, especially near the end, yeah.
Yep, so you want to keep in contact with those, working in all planes of motion. Balance can get out of whack during pregnancy. So if you're training that from the beginning, it's not as much of an issue for you. So I just wanted to slow down on that point because there is intention behind what she's saying here. Yeah, and then there are also some things to be aware of or potentially even avoid depending on if you're having aches and pains during pregnancy, but we're going to hit pause on that and you're going to have to wait for episode 4 to learn about those because we'll be talking a lot about pregnancy in episode 4 specifically. But then, okay, baby is born.
Yeah.
What about 0 to 4 months postpartum?
Yeah, so it's really what it comes down to in the 0 to 4 months postpartum, or what we call the 4th trimester also, is reconnecting with yourself and your body. So feeling, you just had this baby inside of you for 9 months, and things have shifted and changed, and now baby's out and your body needs time to recuperate and recover. So it's really taking that time and identifying those imbalances and setting that foundation and being intentional about it. So you want to start building that foundation. You want to be intentional about where you are at that moment. And it does start in pregnancy, like we talked about, is really focusing on those different areas and then continuing with that.
So when you say intentionally rebuilding the foundation, what does that actually look like? Like, can you give some examples on some exercises, or how much time per day is that? I mean, we're talking freshly postpartum. Should they be doing anything? When should they be starting? And what kind of exercises should they be doing?
Yeah, that's a great question. We have, and I will talk about this too, but we have all this information in our postpartum recovery guide, which covers that 4th trimester recovery. And honestly, you can get started right after you have your baby. Most people won't even think about that, and that's okay. But really what it comes down to is breathing and reconnection with that core and pelvic floor. So you can literally be laying on the floor and doing pelvic tilts with your baby on your chest if you wanted to. It can be simple things like that. And it doesn't have to be a workout by any means. You can do this in your PJs, braless, So what it comes down to is just really thinking about how your pelvic floor and how your deep core are reconnecting, and using your breath intentionally while doing that. And like I said, all this information is in our postpartum recovery guide in much more detail. And we actually break it down by month, basically. So every 4 weeks in the 4th trimester, you have new exercises that kind of just build on each other.
Mm-hmm. And what you were just saying, it could be 5 minutes.
It can be 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't have to be anything huge, and it shouldn't be.
But we've also found that this can be a really big blessing to women in the way of those first 6 to 8 weeks after birth. Mm-hmm. Typically, doctors are telling you rest, right? Which you should be doing.
That's what you're doing.
You should be doing that. Mm-hmm. But we feel so antsy. That's
right.
So
we need
long
something to do,
to be sitting in this, body that feels foreign.
Yeah,
to us,
maybe like
feels
the first
loosey-goosey,
right? And then maybe the first 2 weeks are like, okay, I'm going to rest. Yeah, absolutely do that. That doesn't mean you don't have. That means you don't have to do anything either. Again, it's just breathing.
Yeah,
finding that breath, finding that connection.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So the postpartum recovery guide that Drea was mentioning, we oftentimes say you just start it when you're ready. You don't have to start it right after birth. But when you're kind of like feeling like you have an itch to scratch of starting to find movement in your life again, always start back at the foundations. And so, yeah, that's really, really important. But I will also mention, for someone who is years postpartum and has never checked or restored their core, this kind of still applies to you. It's like absolutely. Returning to the foundations, hitting pause on whatever you're doing in fitness and returning back to the foundations. So, and some indications of that might be if you're having leaking, or you feel like you have this really stubborn belly pooch that never goes away, or if you do a sit-up, you have some abdoming. It's like you have a bread loaf that pops up between the two sides of your abs, or you just feel like you have a lot of shoulder tension a lot. You can't breathe, take deep breaths. Maybe you have low back pain or constant SI joint pain. These could all be indications that you have some deep core muscles that were never reactivated since you've had kids. So, yeah. Okay, let's move into the toddler years. So now you may have a little bit more time, flexibility, maybe, but those toddlers have zero empathy for what you have going on in your day or what you're trying to work on. So what should someone who has toddlers, assuming that they have restored the foundations, what would be a really good goal for them to have in this season of life?
Yeah, so I would say strength training, so lifting heavy weights, mobility and stretching. That's pretty foundational, along with your core strength and everything else. So if you can get anything between 15 and 30 minutes, even twice a week, that's going to be effective. You can split it up too. So if it's, you're doing some core strength, 5-10 minutes, maybe 2 to 3 days a week. And that's like just as the kids are kind of playing in the playroom or whatever, it doesn't matter. Just try to get it in a little bit. So even if it's just up to 15 minutes a day, twice a week, trying to get that in. We always recommend walking with or without the stroller whenever you can. One tip maybe too is to really kind of up the ante. If you're walking, you can get a weight vest.
Mm-hmm.
That's just another little thing. It's not required by any means, but that's kind of been a game changer for me. I've been using a weight vest just walking. And I mean, you talk about strengthening your back, your core, and kind of increasing that cardio. That's kind of an interesting thing to add in there just as you're walking along with your toddler, especially if it's toddler pace.
Mm-hmm.
And then just keeping in mind that progress is more important than perfection. That's another thing that we always tell people, and that's something that I know I need to keep in mind as well, is that if you're seeing progress, it's better than just being perfect about your schedule, about your workouts, about anything. So keep thinking about that progress, keep working on that.
Yeah, and I hope you can hear that we're pretty realistic with what can be done in this season of life. Some people are able to get help and, babysitters and things like that where they can really go to the gym and get their full workouts in, which is great. But I think for what we're talking about here is it's like, if you're struggling with this, don't make it a huge thing on your shoulders.
Right.
Like it can be pretty simple, and just know it's a season of life. And then you move into school aged, right? And if you're planning to homeschool, this might look a little bit different. But for those of you who are planning to send your kids to school, now if you're working again, that's going to change things up a little bit. But at this point in life, once all of your kids are school aged, you kind of feel like yourself again.
Yeah.
You kind of get time back for yourself. You can refine your hobbies, maybe find a little bit more time for working out. And so what would be ideal from a workout schedule for this season of life?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, if you can get in at least 20 minutes, ideally 30 minutes of strength building workouts, 3 to 4 days a week, that's fantastic. Again, having the walks in, if you like to run, great. Just thinking about what activities you actually love doing. And if your kids want to be involved, if they're old enough to do all those things with you, absolutely let them, if you're interested in that.
Yeah, for sure. And then this is also where you can really make sure that you're focusing on activities that you love. I mean, we're busy parents, right? No matter how old your kids are, but especially once you hit that school age season, you might be finding yourself again, but you're also finding yourself sitting on a bench a lot watching sports seasons.
It's true.
And other busyness comes into your life that maybe wasn't present there when your kids were babies and toddlers. And so time can be challenging in that way too. And so just really focusing on the activities that you love. And like we had mentioned earlier, it might be different than what you liked a couple years ago or pre-pregnancy, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about what are some ways to measure progress that don't involve a scale or your pant size. We talked about how progress goals are really great over aesthetic goals, but what are some other things to focus on?
Yeah. And I mean, the thing about the scale too, it's just a number. It's just one tool in the tool belt. You can use that as part of, analyzing where you're at on things, but it shouldn't be the only thing, right? So
and honestly, you shouldn't be using it daily.
No. I mean, unless you're working with a doctor or something where it's like a requirement, but it's like, it's not going to be helpful for the majority of people doing that. So some ways to measure your progress that don't involve that scale is going to be strength gains. So if that's like you're doing the bicep curls and then all of a sudden you're like, you know what, I can do this. I think I can add a little bit more weight. And you add a little bit more weight and you're like, you know what, I'm progressing here. Maybe that means adding more reps, right? You can see the mindset shifts too. So maybe you've been consistently working out 3-4 days a week. And then all of a sudden, a couple months later, you're like, you know what? This is just kind of part of who I am. This is what I'm doing.
Or I feel off when I'm not consistent.
Right. Mm-hmm. Like, why am I feeling off? It's because I haven't been working out like I have been. And it's just really more, like I said, it's more mindfulness about all the aspects of health. So like whether that's your nutrition or hydration or sleep. So I always find building habits, right? So maybe you're starting the workouts 10 minutes a day or 10 minutes a couple days a week, and you're intentional about it, right? And then all of a sudden you're like, you know what? I'm feeling really good about that. I'm going to make sure I'm start focused on my water. How much water am I drinking a day? So then you start focusing on that. And then you start being confident about that. Like, you know what? I am doing this. I can do this. And then you add on like, okay, I'm going to work on making sure I get X amount of protein every day. Maybe that's a little harder at first, but then that you kind of keep stacking those habits and finding that confidence in yourself as you continue on with just more mindfulness around all the different things about health.
Mm-hmm. And if you struggle with this, if you really kind of have a hard time shifting your mind from your aesthetic or how you look to a different type of goal, I would encourage you to just reflect your social media use and who you're following, because a lot of times that can really subconsciously affect us. And if you're if you're going through your feed and you're like, you know what, this person, when I look at their stuff, I get a little ping in my stomach of like jealousy. Mm-hmm. It's time to unfollow them.
Yeah,
for
maybe
a little bit,
at least for a while. And if you want to, come back, that's fine. But if it's not working out for you, it's fine.
Let's finish out this episode talking about celebrating wins. So again, motherhood is a season. It has many seasons.
Yeah.
And within it. And so
within a week sometimes, seems like these kids,
Yeah. All of a sudden you think that you understand their sleep schedule, and then the next week something happens. Is it teething? Is it a growth spurt? It's a who knows, right? Who knows? So we have to be flexible like we talked about, but let's talk about celebrating small wins in your own personal fitness journey. And so what are some tips on doing that? Because we should be reflecting on the progress that we're making.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say make sure you're setting those short-term goals and maybe even a prize or some kind of recognition for yourself once you achieve them. So, maybe if it's like, for this week, I'm going to work out 3 days this week. I'm going to get in 15 minutes doing it, putting it on my calendar and doing it. When you accomplish that, what does that look like? What does that kind of celebration look like? I would not recommend necessarily always making it about food or a cupcake or anything like that. Try to be a little bit more creative in that too.
Maybe it's new workout clothes or something fun.
Maybe a new water bottle.
Or, and this is where accountability partners are so key, whether it's your spouse or a friend or whoever it is, having somebody that you can celebrate the victory with makes finding a way to celebrate even better. Hey, let's go for a walk together. Let's go get coffee together. We're going to celebrate this together because we did it together. Yeah.
Or even like if you have a close relationship with your spouse, telling them about what you're doing and telling them like, hey, I want to talk to you about this. I really want, support with this. That's going to be really helpful too. I would also say, giving yourself breaks in between in specific goals, right? So maybe you had that week goal. Maybe you're ready to try it again next week. Maybe it's like, okay, we're having a vacation. It's probably not going to happen. Take that break. Mm-hmm. It's okay.
Or like if you're setting a push-up goal and you hit 10 push-ups from your toes, if you need a little bit of a break, take a few days off before you're jumping back into the next goal. Like just let yourself breathe a little bit in between. But if you're feeling motivated and super excited, then keep going.
Yeah. Or stick with the 10 and then start just increasing later. That's okay. Mm-hmm. Keeping your why in front of you. So we had talked about this before about the why. Why is doing your movements, why is doing exercise, eating well, sleeping, why is all this important to you? Think about that. And I had said this too. I like to put Post-it notes on my mirror. I like to write it on my fridge or somewhere where I can see it and why I want to keep doing what I'm doing. So that's just one way of really understanding and seeing what your, the wins in your life are. And then journaling and gratitude. Journaling isn't necessarily for everyone, but it can look different. Maybe it's a paper calendar and you're writing your workouts on it. And then you're like, you do your workout and maybe you put a smiley face like, yeah, it worked out great. Or, maybe that's your journaling. It doesn't have to be with a notebook, with soft music in the background because that's not realistic for everybody, right?
Well, but even journaling when you finish a certain goal or you hit a certain victory, journaling how you're feeling in that moment. So that in future days when you're feeling down or you're not feeling on the top of that mountain peak right now, you can go back and see how far you've come.
Right. And practicing gratitude, using in the journaling, whether it's writing it down or talking with a friend or talking with your spouse, it's just being grateful about where your body is, how far it's taken you, and where you're going.
Yeah. Well, I hope you feel encouraged from this episode. I know we're kind of running through each season, and these are all just ideas. This is not necessarily what you should be doing specifically, but we just want you to know that you're doing a good job in whatever season you're in. And if you feel like you need a little bit more of a lift or you need some inspiration, we do have some freebies on our website that I just wanted to point out. We do have a health and fitness roadmap that you can definitely go and download. Check that out. We also have a 5 essentials to a strong postpartum core. So if you feel like your core just isn't where you would like it to be.
If you're looking for that foundation, right?
Yep. And we're not just talking about abs and like the look of the abs. We're talking about function. Do you feel like your back gets tired quickly? Do you feel like you have a weak core? Do you have a hard time sitting up? If your core is a lot, it's not just your abs, it's the whole torso area. So definitely go and download that. It's a great starter to introducing you to the concepts of what a deep core really is, as well as we also have a ton of videos and workouts and programs on our YouTube channel, all free. So go check those out. You can find some stuff at fitmomsonthemove.com. All right, we do have 2 more episodes coming up. In our next episode, we're going to be jumping into kind of some mind-blowing things that women tend to struggle with after pregnancy, and they really have no idea for most of them. This is not mainstream talked about. These are the things that we learned as prenatal and postpartum specialized personal trainers that were pretty mind-blowing, were not taught to us in my bachelor's degree and other things like that. And then in our 4th episode, we're going to be talking about the optimal postpartum recovery plan and making sure that you understand what it is before baby is even born. So 2 more great episodes coming up. If you enjoyed this episode, would you consider leaving a rating or review or sharing it directly with a friend who could benefit from the information? We know that you're a busy mom or caregiver, and our goal is to make your life easier by bringing tips and tricks directly from experts into your earbuds. By sharing this episode with someone you love, you can play a critical role in helping to make their life easier as well. We appreciate your time and thank you for being a part of the Motherhood Alliance family.